YouTube. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. It's official, the deal is done. The first ever spot XRP ETF is coming out on November 13th. That's right, we're about to shock the whole crypto market. It's finally going live and things are getting ready for it. It could be the spark that starts this full-blown bull run. We just need the fuel to light the fire. That's right here in front of us, and we're talking about it. Canary Islands capital, November 13th. Get ready, mark your calendars, because this is going to happen, but the government is still shut down. Are they really? We'll talk about that in a moment. It doesn't really matter though, because these ETFs can go live because of a rule that says they always do. You can see it right here in Section 8A of the Exchange Act. Well, I like this line for those of you who read it. This auto-effective rule, what it means, pretty much if the SEC says no or has something to say about the ETF, it could be put off. But if they don't say anything and leave it alone, it automatically gets passed and goes live, with the SEC having a small staff. There is no doubt about it. Their work isn't very good, and I think they have a lot more important papers to go through than this XRP ETF. Because they let a Solana H-bar and Litecoin through the door, what do you think? However, things start to get interesting because the following week, a Bitwise spot ETF and a 21 shares ETF will be launched. Things are about to get interesting in XRP ETF land. Okay, so 21 shares are set to go public on November 27th or a bit earlier on November 19th. Franklin, Pemberton, Grayscale, and Wisdom Tree are right behind it, along with another 20 or so that are going to come to life. As soon as the government reopens, which should happen this week at the latest, if you've been paying attention, which I think you have, you already know this isn't a luck thing, right? This time, the basis for Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs was built by the same groups. What did Ripples just say? It's XRP Stern. We've heard that these ETFs will set records because so many institutions are interested in XRP. Plus, the fact that they're coming out right after the government reopens makes the whole thing feel very smart. Doesn't it switch to XRP now? .com is my news site. We write 10 to 15 pieces every day about the newest and best Ripple and XRP news. This story was published a few days ago on November 4th. It sounds like I'm talking about XRPE, TFS, and spot products. A lot of people missed this piece of news, but some of you may have heard it. This sets the stage for where we're going with this movie. Did DTCC, aka the group that handles trillions of dollars worth of US assets every day, they just put up 9 XRPE TFS on their website. That means the companies that make these ETFs are ready to go with the funding partners. They're ready, and we're all waiting for one thing, the SEC stamp. It should come in November since the government reopened this week, but here's the catch. Just because a DTCC listing happens doesn't mean trading will happen, right? But what it does is make sure that the whole back end is ready to go live. As soon as the approval comes through, Canary Capital even took down their late change from last week. That's legal speak for, hey guys, are we ready to take off now? Also, guess what? NASDAQ's own method inside the company, their test feeds are already running the tickers for these ETFs. What do you think is going to happen? These groups already know how this is going to turn out. They are aware of what is going on. That's why they're ahead of everything. This is no longer just a guess. It's time for big, which brings us to this now. This works with Bits, okay? This is their CEO. Don't forget that the Bitwise ETF goes live on July 19th, 2 weeks from now. He said there is a lot of interest in XRP, and I'm going to let him say it. Now, think about what the Solana ETF has done in its first 9 days. A crazy amount of volume, and XRP will beat that. I made a movie about this to see what would happen if XRP saw the same amount of volume in its first 9 days as Solana. I told you where the price was going to go, so please forgive me. You should watch that movie and pay attention to Bitwise's CEO. We're thrilled with the response. Other crypto asset ETFs like Litecoin Hedera launched last week, and I think they raised less than $10 million. In a way, these ETFs are ways to get exposure to an underlying asset, and the amount of money coming in and going out will depend on how much investors want exposure to that underlying asset. I think Solana has a great story that fits this time and place perfectly. Do you believe that an XRP ETF would do better than the Sol ETF we just talked about? I believe it would be a big yes. He says, yes, he does. He thinks it will do better than Sol. If you want to see the movie where I talk about the volume and the 40x multiplier that we're going to see, click here. A lot of people are interested in XRP. Our CIO, Matt Hogan, likes to say that apathy is what kills an ETF. But apathy is not something that this cryptocurrency has. Excited people have a lot of energy and attention, so I think, there are more than $100 trillion living on traditional rails, and more of that is moving to chain. But even so, there are still $100 trillion there. An ETF is often the first way that many of those assets can get exposure to an asset, and I think that if they have the chance to trade XRP, they should. People will really like and need this product. We're really happy with it. He knows how this will end. Now let's look at why it's so big when institutional clients want to buy an object before it even trades. Most of the time, it's because they know what's going to happen. This is the same strength we saw before Bitcoin ETFs were approved. And look how that led to a new all-time high before having marked November 19th is the start date for Bitwise. Pay attention to this one because by then, the story may have already turned positive, which brings us to this. Trump sets off this bomb. He says it seems likely that the government will shut down soon, leaving, you'll soon find out. Sounds interesting, right? The noise here isn't like other political noise. This is the hint that Wall Street was waiting for. Because as soon as the government reopens, the SEC will be back to full productivity. That means one thing, XRP ETFs will be launched out of the blue. Don't forget that the XRP ETF was supposed to start trading in October, but the government shut down. There are a lot of ETFs that are about to start trading. This is the time that your institutions have been waiting for weeks. But as Donald Trump says, we get breaking news that the Senate just reached a deal to end the US government shutdown. This is very big. Do you want to know how the next part of the bull run will begin? Right now, with this statement, the regulatory wheels are turning again. Things are moving along, and those XRP ETFs we just talked about can now go through the approval process. It's a flood for everyone. It's not a drip. It is a flood, not a drip. I want to make that clear. XRP bar Litecoin Solana, the age of altcoin ETFs, is now officially here. The great bull run of 2025 is about to begin, and you know how the market reacts when money starts pouring into new ETFs. You know what's coming next, which brings us to this point. We are going to talk about spending and ETFs because they go together so well, and this is where things really get crazy. Trump just announced that every American, except those with very high incomes, will get a $2,000 dividend check. The money will come from tariffs. We are not getting boost from debt. This is straight capital injection from someone who lived in 2020. If you missed it or don't know what happened to crypto in 2020, I know I did. Let me explain this to you. When stimulus checks came out in 2020, the price of Bitcoin went from $6,000 to $69,000. If you cashed your stimulus check into Bitcoin today, it would be worth more than $21,000. Ethereum did 40 times as much back then. Now picture the same liquidity rise plus spot ETF inflows, institutional numbers, and a good track record from the government putting money into and building plants and companies all over the place. You couldn't make a more positive scenario, and I want to bring this up because of history. History doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does ride now, doesn't it? Let's look at February 2018.